la la, it's time for part 3. It's EMEA Rostermania grades. If you haven't checked out the Pacific and Americas videos, go check them out. But let's just dive straight into it and talk about these rosters in EMEA. So we'll start with Fnatic here, and they have obviously lost Chronicle, and they brought in Vekash. And again, the first thing I want to say when I'm giving out grades for this, if anyone from Fnatic is watching or whatever, I don't know about behind the scenes or money or anything like that, so I can't grade anyone on that things. I'm just looking at straight up roster. Chronicle has left and Vekash has come in. I think that is a downgrade, even though I do think Vekash will be pretty good, and from what we've seen so far from Fnatic, it seems to be working at least okay, apart from on Abyss against Dribble Duelist. But I think the Fnatic will still be good, and I think that this is absolutely, going to be a good roster. However, is this roster better than the old one? I would say no, right? Because Chronicle, some people would argue, is the GOAT of the entire game. So for that reason, I have to kind of give Fnatic a low grade. Right, I'm going to have to give them a deep blue C. Does that mean I think Fnatic will be bad? Absolutely not. I think they'll be one of the best teams for sure. Well, let's move on and talk about Team Heretics, who, again, only made one change themselves. They have let go of Miniboo and brought in Comeback instead. Now, this is an interesting change because Team Heretics didn't have a great year, I think, by their standards last year, right? They didn't make it deep in any internationals, which I think they would see as, a failure considering what they did in 2024. So I can understand making a change. I think making a change is absolutely fine. But the problem that they're going to run into is whoever they make a change from, it is going to bring some questions of like, well, is it definitely an upgrade? And I think we're here with this move as well. Is Comeback definitely going to be better than Miniboo? I wouldn't say definitely. If he can be more consistently good than Miniboo was, because Miniboo can have stretches of being very, very good, but he can also, have some kind of inconsistencies in his game as well. I think the Comeback might be the same. This could be an upgrade, but also I wouldn't be shocked if it isn't, right? Or if it averages out to about the same, to be honest, because it's not like I think Miniboo is a bad player. I think Miniboo is pretty good. So yeah, I'm gonna end up giving Team Heretics a B. Let's move on to Team Liquid. Speaking of Miniboo, so they have kept Nats and Camo. They've let go of their other 3 players in Kiko, Trex, and Patatech. And they brought in Wayne from Tier 2 Pacific, which is a bit out there, and Purpo, who's kind of bounced around quite a few different EMEA rosters. So, looking at this roster here for Liquid, first thing I have to bring up, of course, and again, I'm not looking at money or anything like that. Losing Kiko, obviously not good. I would have probably said, as long as you keep Nats and Kiko, do whatever you want with the rest of the roster, and I'll probably be pretty happy. But obviously they didn't keep Kiko, so I'm not as happy. Keeping Camo, I think, is fine. I think letting go of the other players in Trex and Patatech is okay as well. I don't hate it. Bringing in Miniboo, I think that's a good move, as I said. I think Miniboo's a pretty good player, so that's absolutely fine. There is some role stuff going on here we need to talk about as well, though, with like Camo versus Miniboo. Who's going to play Duelist? If I had to guess, Camo has played some other stuff. The other issue is who's going to play like Recon. I would guess it's Purpo, although he hasn't played a ton of Recon in his career so far. Wayne is going to play Smokes, I'm pretty sure. And then Nats, is going to play Nats things. Hopefully not as much Waylay, because now they have 2 duelists, so we shouldn't see any more Nats Waylay. Well, we thought that their roster last year wasn't going to be that good, and then it really, they overachieved, and they were actually very good. So that does give me some confidence with Nats IGLing and the same coaching staff that, that will happen again. And I know that Miniboo is good. The problem is, though, like letting go of Kiko, like I know Kiko is really, really good. So I'm also going to have to give Liquid a deep blue C here, but I'll give them a C+. Okay, moving on to Giants. Giants kept their roster, everything the same as it was. Obviously, they made champs, which is fine. The thing that I would say for Giants is, yeah, they did have a good run to the end of the year, but, they weren't amazing in champs themselves. They weren't even that amazing during stage 2, apart from the playoffs. Could we have maybe looked for a roster move, grabbed some big player potentially, who we thought maybe could be an upgrade? Yeah, but I'm not going to hate on them for not doing that. I think it's fine to do this, so I'm going to stick them with a B. Okay, BBL obviously picked up the BBL Pacific roster and let go of their entire roster. Now, this is perhaps one of the most interesting ones, that we've done across all 3 regions, because BBL weren't a bad team last year. Yes, they didn't make any internationals. They were literally 1 place off, like all the time. But throughout the entire season, they were just always 1 place off. Which then does bring up the question, like, does getting rid of that entire roster that was actually pretty decent last year, is that a good decision? Now, you're bringing in what is, a very hyped full team from Tier 2, who won Ascension. You can see the vision. You can understand why they have done this. And you want to go back to a full Turkish roster. That's good as well, right? I like, again, when, you know, like you're a Turkish team, have a Turkish roster. Cool. Like that as well. But the thing is, you actually had 2 very good Turkish players already on your team. And this is where I understand these players wanted to play together. They wanted to stick as a team. But I don't know what's going on behind the scenes and all that. Maybe they only would have accepted to play fully as a team. But I don't know that. Are all of these players definitely better than Levin and Sociable? I almost doubt it, because Levin and Sociable are, in my opinion, very good players. Will this BBL team definitely be better than the old BBL team? I don't know, right? That is a question. I don't think you can say that for sure this team is going to be better than the old BBL. Look, I think that this makes sense. Don't get me wrong. Like, I understand why they have done this, and it's fine, right? But I'm going to give them a B- because I think that those questions are valid. Okay, Navi. Navi obviously let go of Alexic. Angel is now their head coach. I mean, straight away, that's a win. That's going to get you at least part of it, because that's just fun. And then you've kept Ruxic, Hero, and Shao. All 3, I think, is absolutely fine and probably a good decision. You bring in Sociable and Filu. Now, I was just talking about Sociable. I think Sociable is really good. So I'm on board with this. I'm on board with that. I'm on board with all of this as well. My one question mark is Filu. Because Filu, it seems, is getting this reputation almost like the EMEA Icy, where, you know, in scrims, in tryouts, an absolute demon, you know, just dropping 40 kills and whatever. And it's like, if someone drops 40 kills and you try out for them, you know, like, yeah, maybe you will just end up signing him. But when Filu played for Koi last year, I don't think he was that good. Now, maybe it's a nerves thing, Koi thing, very well could be a Koi thing, but there are question marks here. Can Ruxic, Hero, Sociable, they can all pick up some slack. Even if he does have bad games, it might not matter that much as long as he creates some space for his teammates to do something. But there are some question marks here for me. I'm gonna give Navi, I think, a B+ here for this. Moving on to Team Vitality, who kept Durka. Sayonara wasn't old enough, but now is. And is a bit of a young prodigy, if you're not aware. Pal, their coach, apparently is representing, I don't know, pirates here? I have no idea. Great Britain, Scotland is what this is meant to be. Obviously, they let go of kind of their old roster with Les and all of that. Now, losing Les, you could argue, like, hey, you've lost a very, very good player. But I do think that this roster, you pick up Chronicle, you pick up Yampi Prophet, you pick up Pal, and I think it all just makes sense. This makes so much more sense. You have a coach IGL combo and another player who already played for it. These two have played before and apparently get on pretty well. So to me, this just makes sense. I think this is absolute cooking. In Vitality's own words, they won the offseason. I am going to give them an A+, because I think the way that this team has been built, a lot of confidence that they'll be pretty good. Like, they've learned from the problems that they had last year, right? Last year, they had an inexperienced coach with 5 kind of just superstar players thrown together. This year, they've gone, let's actually build a team, you know, with some good pieces in correct roles, with a proper IGL, with a head coach and IGL combo. It makes sense. Okay, KC. Keeping Sugetsu and Aves, absolutely fine with that. Obviously, letting go of Martine, Sadek, and Pyrol. Pyrol was there for a day. The Sadek experiment didn't work. The only case I think you could really make is for maybe Martine is good enough to stick around. But, you know, picking up Levin, DOS9, Shados, no problem with that. DOS9 was crazy at points last year. For Boom, Levin, I've already kind of mentioned. And Shados IGLing really is the question mark on this team. But I do think that's going to allow this to become more of Eng's team. Shados and Eng were on the same Gambit team. So it's kind of an interesting little throwback, isn't it? So they know each other very well. They're probably going to be more on the same page, more idea of what they want to do. So I kind of like the way this roster is looking. You know what? I'm convincing myself here about this roster. I'm going to give Karmine Corp a little A- here. I'm convincing myself that this will work. You know, the old Eng Shados throwback. I'm in. I'm in on Karmine Corp. I did this with Crew yesterday, where I was like, looking at the roster, I was like, I like this roster. Karmine Corp, I'm in. I like this roster. Okay, moving on to FUT. They keep Zeus, Yetj, Mr. Fallen. They bring back Geis as head coach, thank God. They get Lego, Krax, and Cena. Now, I think when you look at FUT and how they had kind of a disappointing year last year overall, I think that bringing in Geis, good. I think keeping these 3 is the right choice. I think for me, what you want, these 2 have the ability to completely take over games. And they do sometimes, but it's just not consistent enough. So for me, if I'm FUT, I'm looking at how can I maximize these 2. I'm not sure if Crystalli and Baha, will they be the answers to that? I'm not sure, because I don't know enough about these players, right? So that's a bit of an unknown for me. There is a part of me, again, though, that thinks for FUT, like, hey, Sociable, and like, if this read Sociable plus Sociable plus Levin, I'd be like, okay, we're cooking here. This is a bit unknown, so I'm not going to, you know, judge them too harshly because these guys might be very good and I'm just not as aware. And I don't hate overall the direction that they've gone and they brought in guys, so I am going to go and give them B as well. Maybe a B+. I'll stick at a B for now, but yeah, I don't hate what they've done. Gentle mates. Keeping Mini, no problem with that. Adding Martine, Starkso, Bippo, and Cliff, we'll get to in a second. And obviously, they let go of the rest of the roster. Although, again, they're in a weird spot where two of their players have ended up on Heretics and Fnatic. I mean, Gentlemates are just such an odd team to talk about in general, right? Because they were very good until they got to 12, and they easily could have won like 4 games in Stage 2, but they ended up winning none. I think taking Mini off IGL and just letting him frag is probably a good idea. And Starkso was actually the highest rated player in the EMEA Ascension. Despite IGLing. I'm kind of in for picking up Starkso. I'm kind of in for putting Mini, you know, and just letting him frag. Martine, I think, is a good pickup as well. The question marks more are going to come about Bippo and Glyph. Glyph coming from America's Ascension and Winthrop. And then Bippo, who's been in the Italian Tier 2 scene for a little while. I'm not against necessarily the pickups. They were in a very strange position, though, because you could have made a justification for literally running it back. I don't hate this. I think this is fine. I'm going to give this a B. Gentlemates were in a much tougher position than I think most other teams here because there was so many different avenues that they could have gone down. Okay, Pacific. Now, Pacific obviously lost all of their roster to BBL. So far, there's only rumors of 2 players. Now, Cupid, I think, now has been more solidly reported that that is true. Cupid becoming their IGL, who was on Team Liquid Academy last year. Ninja, not the streamer. I actually don't know much about Ninja, I'll be honest. But obviously, Pacific have been left in a crazy spot where their whole team has gone. This, again, is nothing against Cupid and Ninja, but I'm going to have to give this a D. You still don't have it. You know, I'm doing these videos now because we're not that far away. You know, we're a month or so away from the season starting. And you don't have a team, as far as I can tell. And then moving on to Ulf. Did change their coach, which is quite interesting. But other than that, kept their team. Which, anytime this happens, you're an Ascension team. You keep your team. I'm just going to give you an A-. I do think they'll be a fairly competitive Tier 1 team. So, overall, you know, outside of kind of the weird situation in Pacific here, I think, again, like America's, EMEA teams have generally gone in a direction that I think makes sense and is good. It's kind of interesting because actually you might say that some of the better performing teams and your, you know, Liquids and Fnatics maybe got worse. Whereas, you know, other teams kind of from the middle are potentially getting better. And, you know, that could make EMEA very competitive and interesting to watch this year.